As we all know, Sam, Katie and me, and everyone in the room, that neurotechnology has really moved out of the lab and into the real world. And that changes the stakes for everybody here. It's no longer about things that are happening that have no impact. This is the future of humanity that we're talking about. So there have been a lot of discussion. There have been guidelines that have been put out there by a lot of bodies. The constant criticism, including from BrainMind itself, is that these guidelines don't make it into the real world. They're not making it into the way potentially companies are designing products. They're not making it into the way that investors are diligencing companies, and they're certainly not making it into the documents themselves. So our workshop today is to bring all of this to bear in a way that makes it have some teeth, so that we move from it being something that doesn't matter to being an operational guide that we can all follow. So that's basically our workshop today. We're going to be designing some guardrails in the form of an oath or a declaration and talking about the benefits or of each of those. We're going to be designing diligence questions that venture capitalists and founders can work through together to make sure that we're ethically aligned. And we're also going to be discussing how can we implement this into the documents themselves where they can really have an impact. At the end of the day, from the people we've heard before to the people out here, everybody in this room is focused on us not ending up in a dystopian future. And if you're interested in this topic, we'd love you to come and join us for our workshop.
I hope it was a great week so far. I'm exhausted, as I'm sure everyone else is here, but I just wanted to say thank you to Diana and the BrainMind team for helping us prepare for this. First of all, just for context for those who weren't there, Adam, Arkady, and I were working on what we generally called this founder-investor agreement, which we broke into 3 parts. The first part was actually defining duty on the investor and the founder side, which started with a set of guiding principles and trying to refine it down. Turns out language really matters, and we'll get into that. So I ran that part of the workshop. We then moved into a due diligence framework. Are there specific questions that we could ask founders when we're doing due diligence as investors that give us a better understanding for how they're implementing neuroethics into their day-to-day and into their product development? And Arkady led that. And then we moved into actually giving this some teeth. And so having discussion around whether or not we would include provisions in things like term sheets or side letters, and how you would enforce that from a governance perspective. And Adam led that. Our goal was to get feedback. I will say we started working on this together in June, and it was extremely difficult. Dissensus was definitely top of mind all the time. We disagreed on everything, which I think was good. And we were hoping that we would get at least 5 people from our workshop for each of our sections to help us work through some kinks on the draft that we came up with at the end of this workshop by June and trial these items so that we could have a refined go-forward process so that by the time we come around to JPM, we have a better understanding for what is tangible and what's not. Well, just so you know, since then, we've had 10 people volunteer already to help define this charter of sorts, or this duty, 17 people willing to volunteer to implement the due diligence framework, and 10 willing to work on implementing a side letter with Adam. So that's great. Everyone, round of applause for that. And we're going to share the WhatsApp group links for each of these. We would love for people who were talking to us that weren't in the workshop who are interested in this to join as well. We have a lot of takeaways, but I just want to include some important ones. So we realize that risk is inevitable, but it should be justified. We really had a lot of discussion around this idea that we didn't have an objective baseline. And so, over the course of the past few days, I've heard a lot of people say, quite honestly, there was a lot of noise. There was a low signal to noise ratio in these discussions. That's usually a bad thing, but I think in this context, it's actually good. I think because we're all coming at it with such different experiences, we have a lot of intelligent minds here, we should expect there to be a lot of noise when we're bringing a transdisciplinary, objective to the forefront. And so we need to improve that signal to noise and concretize where we're going here in a way that's leveraging expert opinion and not reinventing the wheel. I think that's what everyone was telling me afterwards. And so, one of the things that I wanted to say, in addition to the fact that one of our main takeaways was actually having practical tools, is that what we've realized in our workshop and in others is that we're operating without actually having a conjoined set of agreed upon definitions for things. And so there may be a separate working group for this. Maybe it becomes part of mine, but I think it's really important to define things like neural data, what's personally identifiable information, all of these things that make up the bulk of where this technology can go, so that when we move forward with what we're doing, we know what we're referring to. And so it was a learning process, and I don't know if we have a couple minutes. Do you want to add anything to that? Okay. Thank you so much for your contributions.
Thank you, Sam.